Chaos in Isla Vista. Thousands of partiers turned violent. A mattress set on fire. Stop signs ripped up from the ground. Law enforcement responded with tear gas and rubber bullets.
I got shot.
We have team coverage of the Isla Vista riot.
This is going to get bad. This is going to get really bad.
News Channel 3 starts right now.
Live, up and down the coast, from the beaches to the valleys. At 6:30, this is KEYT News Channel 3, where the news comes first.
Good evening. I'm Victoria Sanchez. Thank you for joining us. We continue tonight with the fallout from a massive riot that broke out during last night's Deltopia street party in Isla Vista. Police clashed with partygoers in the melee that you watched unfold right here live on News Channel 3. Dozens of people were hurt, several officers injured, and we have live team coverage. News Channel 3 reporter Natalie Tavidian is live in Isla Vista with cleanup efforts. But we begin with Elise Martinez, who joins us live with reaction from students and the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown. Elise.
Victoria, I'm here on Camino del Sur and Trigo Road, the scene of last night's riot. Now, if you can imagine, this small area behind me was packed with thousands of people, some of them who engaged in a confrontation and standoff with police. Now, things are slowly returning to normal today, but there's still a sense of anger and disbelief over what happened.
Okay, this is tear gas. This is going to get bad. This is going to get really bad.
Deltopia 2014 went from bad to worse.
It was certainly something that we haven't experienced here in Santa Barbara in at least the last 15 years.
Sheriff Bill Brown is shocked at the outbreak of violence after partying on the streets of Isla Vista spiraled out of control into a full-blown riot. It started early. During the day, the crowd on Del Playa Drive swelled to around 15,000 people.
Throughout the day, it was crazy, but it was controlled crazy. It wasn't, chaotic in a sense.
The trouble started around 8 p.m. when officers responded to 2 stabbings on Camino del Sur. Then the tipping point. At 9:30, a UCSB police officer was hit in the head with a backpack full of liquor bottles. 2 deputies were hit too, one in the head with a brick, the other's hand slashed by a thrown bottle.
Well, it's incredibly disturbing and incredibly frustrating when someone who's trying to do their job and protect everybody out in the community is assaulted in such a manner.
By 10:30, all-out chaos. Law enforcement declared an unlawful assembly. People tore down stop signs, destroyed a van, set mattresses on fire, and threw bottles and bricks at officers. Law enforcement fired back with tear gas, flashbang grenades, and rubber bullets.
I got shot too.
But the crowd didn't back down.
Ego kind of played into it too. Is like, we're not going to back down. We're not afraid of you.
The hours-long standoff at Camino del Sur and Trigo Road had law enforcement on one side, the crowd on the other. Just after midnight, law enforcement fired off the last round of tear gas and rubber bullets.
This is tear gas.
After the smoke cleared, few lingered, but the damage was done.
We had over 100 people arrested last night, at least 19 of them directly related to the civil unrest. We will be seeking prosecution on all of them.
I also reached out to UCSB Chancellor Henry Yang. His office just got back to me. They released a statement which reads in part, the actions of some of the participants involved in last night's incidents were outrageous and extremely dangerous. Any of our students found to have violated the law or university policies are subject to university sanctions. It also says, in the coming months, we look forward to discussions with local law enforcement and students on ways to address what happened last night and prevent further incidences like this in the future. Live in Isla Vista, Elise Martinez, News Channel 3.
Thank you, Elise. The riot that injured at least 6 law enforcement officers from flying debris also sent more than 24 people to local emergency rooms.
Disgusting, ridiculous, disappointing. Those are 3 words that come to mind after witnessing that last night.
Riot started. That was a flashbang grenade, I think.
18 people were arrested during Saturday night's riot that lasted into the early morning hours of Sunday. But during the course of the street party Deltopia, more than 100 people ended up behind bars. The outbreak of chaos started when a UC police officer was hit over the head, and it erupted from there.
People just started throwing rocks and bottles and bricks at law enforcement. Other law enforcement were running in to assist, and it stretched a several block radius of just mayhem and people assaulting deputies and officers. 5 sheriff's deputies were hurt by those bricks and bottles, but it wasn't just law enforcement. 26 people had to be taken to local hospitals during the melee. The emergency rooms even called in extra staff to deal with the influx of injuries, including 2 stabbing victims. Little is known about the stabbings so far that happened on the 800 block of Camino del Sur, but the victims are expected to survive. This is definitely of concern. Everybody is disappointed, is shocked, surprised that this happened, and you can bet that there will be a major gathering of all the community leaders to figure out how to proceed from here.
That partying and chaos left a big mess behind. Natalie Tavidian is also live in Isla Vista, where groups involved with the cleanup efforts have been trying to get the college town back to normal. Natalie.
Victoria, they did leave a mess behind. Some students I spoke with tell me they've been cleaning since 4 o'clock this morning. Take a look behind me. This is just one of the things that we found. Burnt mattresses were thrown out. And if you look across the street, some cars were vandalized. That's only one of the many cars I saw vandalized today. Cars smashed and glass bottles thrown around. It's a place many students call home.
It's kind of a bummer. People just kind of fly in, kind of feel entitled to the whole thing, just trash the place. And
James Human and Ben Kazakiewicz spent much of their Sunday cleaning up after Deltopia. The students say they didn't expect the street party to get this out of control. They blame some of it on out-of-town visitors.
There was a lot of people who weren't invited to this event, who nobody wanted here, and they kind of caused the trouble.
Oh, this is the top of a tear gas thing they were throwing these.
It's going to take more than 1 day to clean up the aftermath.
Technically, there's not really street sweeping day.
Adam Porte is the coordinator of the Adopt a Block program. He says since the community doesn't have a street sweeping day, trash that accumulates during parties like this will never get picked up. So he's organized a group of around 300 volunteers.
I got in at around 8 o'clock, and it blew my mind. Like, this was way worse than it was last year.
Volunteers say most of the stuff they found were glass and plastic. Nathan here is one of the 300 volunteers who brought some of the trash back to recycle.
I think we're going to probably still work on it for the rest of the week.
And the Isla Vista Parks and Recs manager, he tells me that most of the big things were picked up, but it's going to take at least 2 weeks to return back to how things were yesterday morning. In Isla Vista, Natalie Tavidian, News Channel 3.
Thank you, Natalie. We're keeping this story up to date on our website, KEYT.com, and viewers are sounding off about the Isla Vista chaos in the comments section. Here's what some are saying. The egregious, irresponsible, selfish, harmful, and hugely expensive public displays at UCSB and in Isla Vista and Halloween and on Deltopia needs to stop. Another viewer wrote, sadly, they do have the right to assemble. Another viewer countered, this is not about the right to assemble. This is not an assembly. This is mostly out-of-towners who come and trash our streets and property. You can join in the conversation at KEYT.com and our Facebook page.